Reading ledger lines is about to become a problem of the past because in this video I'm going to share with you 2 proven tips that's going to help you read notes like this one, lightning fast. So we're going to start out with rule number 1, and there's 2 parts to this rule that you should be aware of. And the rule is the lines of a staff are equal to the spaces going up off the staff starting from the top space. Now let me show you what this means. So the lines of the treble clef here are E, G, B, D, F from the bottom to the top, and that means that these spaces here, again, starting from the top space, are going to be E, G, B, D, F. And you can use this to read notes a lot faster because if I see this note right here, I can do this. I just count up from that top space and the note is B. And it's really important to note that the lines of the treble clef are here on the keyboard, E, G, B, D, F. But these spaces here are an octave higher, E, G, B, D, F. Exact same is true for the bass clef, except remember the bass clef lines are G, B, D, F, A from bottom to the top. So these notes will be G, B, D, F, A. And remember, start from the top space, very important. And if the lines of the bass clef on the piano are here, G, B, D, F, A, well, the spaces are actually going to be higher up on the piano because we're higher up on the staff, and those notes will be here, G, B, D, F, A. And that makes sense because when you start getting notes like this A up here, you know, that's far into the treble clef territory. And here's the second part of rule number 1. Are you ready? Now, this is very important. So the lines of a staff are equal to the spaces, and last time we were going up off the staff, but this time we're going to do it a little different. The lines of a staff, E, G, B, D, F, are equal to the spaces going down below the staff starting from the bottom space. However, this time the notes are in reverse order because this time our top note is this F here, which is actually this note, which is actually the top note there. So we're actually going down in reverse order. Like this, where F is the top note and then you have to count down. So you may want to practice these going forward, E, G, B, D, F, and going backwards, F, D, B, G, E, so you get used to counting down the other way. Remember, they're equal from the bottom to the top. Keep that in mind. So if I just had this note right here, what note would that be? Let's practice this. Well, remember, the lines are E, G, B, D, F. And this is also E, G, B, D, F, but the top space is F going backwards. So you got F, D, B. Oh, and hey, there's our G right there. Now we got to do the bass clef, but this is easy now that you understand the treble, that the lines of the bass clef are G, B, D, F, A from bottom to the top. And this is also G, B, D, F, A. But remember, we're going from the bottom to the top. So the bottom note is G and the top note is A. So you may want to practice this in reverse order, A, F, D, B, G. So say I'm trying to figure out this note right here. Remember, the lines are equal to the spaces going down, but we're doing it reverse order from the bottom space. So here's A and then F, which is equal to that one. And keep in mind when we do this, these notes here, right here, are G, B, D, F, A. But these notes are way lower, an octave lower, G, B, D, F, A, just to show you where they are. Now we're ready for rule 2, and this one also has 2 parts. So here we have the spaces of the treble clef. Remember, from the bottom to the top, it's F, A, C, E. And guess what? The spaces, this is the rule, the spaces of a staff are equal to the lines going up off the staff starting from the top line. So it's the reverse of what we had before. We were doing lines to spaces starting from the top space. This time we're going spaces to lines starting from that top line. So if this is F, A, C, E from bottom to the top, this is F, A, C, E. So if I just had this note right here, what I would do is I would start from the top line, knowing that that's F. That middle line is A, and that line has to be C. So if the spaces are here on the piano, F, A, C, E. Then the lines are going to be up an octave, F, A, C, and that's the note we have there. And then the last note would be E, like that. The same is true for the bass clef, just like last time. The spaces of a staff are equal to the lines going up off the staff, starting from the top line, except this time this is A, C, E, G. And this one is A, C, E, G, just up an octave on the piano. Here's part 2 of Rule 2, and that is the spaces of a staff are equal to the lines going down below the staff from the bottom to the top. So let me show you. So if this is F, A, C, E, located here on the piano, then this is also right here is F, A, C, E, but you got to remember you're going in the reverse direction because we're bottom to top. So the bottom note is F and the top note is E. So once again, you may want to practice it F, A, C, E, but also practice E, C, A, F, just saying that so you can count from the top note down below. All right, and the rule is the same for the bass clef, and then we have a final kind of wrap up at the end, and then I'm going to show you how to practice these. But let's take a look at this. So the spaces of a staff are equal to the lines going down below the staff, starting from the bottom line. So if this is A, C, E, G, this is also A, C, E, G, but remember you're going from the bottom to the top just like last time. So how to remember this is that the lines of a staff are equal to the spaces going up off the staff or going down below the staff in this case. Remember, you're always going from the bottom to the top. So for like this one, the bottom note would be E on this one, and the top note would be F. You have to be careful of that. So lines equals spaces. Remember that. But then also remember that spaces equals lines, just going up the staff or down below the staff. And you just got to remember when you go down below the staff, you are technically counting in reverse order because remember they match bottom to top. And let me know if you have any questions about that in the comments. So towards the end of the lesson, I'm going to teach you what you should be doing to practice your ledger lines. But first, what I want to do is I want to just really emphasize the importance of learning your ledger lines, because when I was younger than I am now, I know I still look super young, don't I? I'm just kidding. And you don't have to comment about that in the comments. I'm just kidding. Anyway, when I was much younger, I learned ledger lines with my teacher, Mr. Armstrong, when I was like 10 years old, okay? And I practiced them for maybe a week or so. Well, what happened was I didn't have a lot of pieces with ledger lines. And so what happened is like 2 months went by. I didn't look at ledger lines after I initially learned them. And I completely forgot them, and I had to relearn them over again. And I did eventually relearn them by practicing. But I'll tell you this thing where you match up the lines with the spaces to the lines makes it 10 times easier. I unfortunately don't remember the student's name, but one of our students in our community told me about this tip like a few years ago, and I was like, this is gold, and I have to share it with you. So trust me, from my own personal experience, this is worth getting right and worth putting the time into. Okay, so before I tell you how to practice your ledger lines so you can master them for real, I have a few frequently asked questions. This is a new segment for our videos here. Frequently asked questions that I get from students about the topic we're learning all the time, and maybe it will clarify some questions that you have. So here is the first question I get a lot, which is, how often should you practice reading music? And here's the answer. So you want to be practicing reading music every time you practice, which is every day, right? Well, for most of us, maybe not, since we're busy, we might have kids or work, things like that. But every time you practice, I would make it part of your practice regimen to spend 5 or 10 minutes reading music, and I'll teach you more about how to do that in a few minutes. Question 2 I get all the time, and next lesson I put out, not live stream, but the next lesson I put out is going to be about this topic. And this question I get is related to it. So here's the question. After you practice reading music for a long time, what should you work on? And the answer is this. So you shouldn't practice reading music necessarily forever. You should practice it until you get all of them right, get it really fast, things like that. But say you're a few years into learning and you're like, Tim, I already know this stuff. I'm so good at this. what should I even be working on at this point? Well, sight reading is your new best friend, which kind of builds on note reading. Note reading is doing what we did today, where we read a note, we figure out what note it is, and find it on the piano. That's where you want to start. But after you do that, you want to move into sight reading, which is being able to look at a piece of music for the very first time and being able to play it beginning to end with relatively few mistakes. And there's a whole methodology behind that. Again, the next video is going to be sight reading. So if you want to learn more about that, really subscribe, make sure you have all your notifications on, and make sure to check back every so often for that ledger line. Oh, excuse me, not ledger line. We're doing that today. The sight reading video. Speaking of which, I want to personally invite you, yes you, to our live streams that we have every Saturday at 10:15 EST, Eastern Standard Time, where we come together, we learn a topic, and we answer questions, and we share together, and we build a cool student-teacher rapport and things like that. So if that sounds interesting to you and you want to learn as a community, check out our live streams Saturday mornings, 10:15 EST. But now, I have one final frequently asked question that we need to get to before we conclude today, and that is, how do you practice ledger lines? So besides watching this video as many times as you need, you want to practice by getting a pack of flashcards on Amazon. I'll try to remember a link in the description, but there's tons of these cards out there. It's a very old school way of practicing. Again, if I was reading this note, right, this is on a line. So let's use our logic here. Lines are equal to spaces, right? So if this is F, A, C, E on the spaces, then on the lines, it's going to be F, A, and that note is going to be C. Just walking you through kind of the logic on where we figure that note out. And another great way to practice is going to musictheory.net, clicking on exercises, going to note identification. Now this part's very important. You can't see it here. Let me see. Can I get, well, you can't see it in the corner here, unfortunately. But there's a little gear and you click it here. And what you need to do is you need to select the range. Let's go here. And you want to make sure that your range is set to the ledger line notes, because then it will quiz you not only on the notes on the staff, which you should probably get extra, practice with. You can also practice, those notes high up or below the staff. Quick, what note is this one? Right? So it's on a line, this one right here, right below my head, right there. So if this one's on a line, remember lines are equal to spaces. So if the spaces are F, A, C, E, this one is going to be F, A, C, E. So that note is going to be E. So reading ledger lines is just a small piece of reading music. And if you want to learn all the techniques, you want to check out this video right here called How to Read Music in One Easy Lesson. Been your piano teacher, Tim here. Thanks for coming by today. And I'll see you, yes, you, in the next lesson.